AR Demolition have been contracted to remove the ticket concourse from the front of the King's Cross station to reveal the original facade. This project's really unique because this is one of the busiest stations in the whole of Europe. We've got to work around all of that without any interference whatsoever. We've got to keep the project going without interfering with the public. We've got the underground underneath, we've got very busy roads, we've got the Grade 1 listed building. We need to keep everything going just nice without anyone really knowing that we're here taking down quite a large structure. We won the project. It came through a phone call from a gentleman that had seen a film about a previous space deck roof that we'd done, which is quite exciting. When we embarked on the project at King's Cross, we wanted to take as much information as we could from the project that I did the talk on. So we revisited the paperwork, we revisited the engineering detail that we'd gone into. We had to cover off all risks because we were being asked to leave elements of King's Cross Station live under the space deck roof while we demolished other parts. This really focused our minds on coming up with a method to make sure that it was 100% guaranteed that there could be no collapse, that nothing would happen with the live half while we're working on the demolition portion of the works. And we had to go into very minute detail to make sure that there was just no risk whatsoever.
Yeah, we've got the site file here which contains all the information which we need to undertake the task. It's got all the forms the client will need to see before we commence any demolition. So an important part of the design is the drawings. Well, the space frame is a very simple structure that is designed to form large spanning slabs of roof system that are lightweight with it retaining extreme strength. It's been commonly used on dome structures where it's an interlocking pyramids that are tied together by steel bars. And in principle how it works is you get a top chord and a bottom chord which are held apart by bars, in the case they're designed like pyramids. And what that allows it to do is it wants to fall and fail. So the top chord is in compression, it's getting squeezed. It wants to push itself together. The bottom chord is in tension. It's trying to be ripped apart. But the loads transfer through the system very efficiently through the bars and it works very well. So it's an extremely strong system for its weight. Concerns were raised by the client for conditions that could happen quite easily in a structure like the space frame, which would be an uncontrolled collapse of the system. They were very concerned about that being a possibility, a real possibility.
What can fail with the structure is if you don't take it down in the sequence that we've designed. If we take something, an element out that in the wrong order, then the whole lot could fail and collapse. Or if we do something out of sequence, the tension can overcome the compression or vice versa, causing the whole roof to fail. So we have to be very controlled about how we prop it, pin it down, and then the sequence of demolition. What we've done is we've put various props in different places, all strategically positioned as per a drawing and a design. But not only have we put props in there, we've actually pulled down on the roof using Kentledge blocks and straps. So they're pulling down to maintain the downward forces as well as the upward forces to keep the equilibrium between the compression and tension on the various elements of the roof.
We're in the process of cutting and severing all the structural ties to allow us to completely demolish one part of the structure from the other.
The process which we're using is called oxypropane flame torch, and basically it's a very controlled way of detaching structure. The east side of the roof now will be sitting on its temporary props. That will enable the space frame to be held in situ while we can put the mechanical shear to work. Operatives on the ground here are observing the sparks that are obviously generated from the operation to ensure that we don't have any hazards from fire and smoke. The station is monitoring the activity using their live smoke systems, detecting system. If they have any concern and an alarm is raised, we will stop work immediately. We remain in two-way radio contact with the station at all times. We are now at phase 3 of the demolition process at King's Cross Station. We have now achieved the removal of approximately half of the space deck system spanning across the concourse at King's Cross. Up to now, we've proved that the systems we've designed and developed do work in practice. The structure has behaved, and we've been monitoring the structure during the whole activity, 4 or 5 times a day, taking critical measurements of the roof system to ensure it isn't moving, either up or down or in a sideways motion, and it's proved to have worked brilliantly. We're now coming to probably what is considered to be the most sensitive area, which is working over a live emergency access route, which has to be maintained 24 hours a day. So at any time, this emergency route can be opened to allow the public access from the station out into the public areas. The deconstruction has now reached the point where we are directly above the London Underground ticket office and the main thoroughfares where thousands of people are now moving below our feet. This is the most challenging time, and as a result, this work will be undertaken overnight time to ensure the impact on the London Underground is kept to an absolute minimum. Currently we're using a 20-ton excavator fitted with various attachments which allow us to progressively demolish the structure. This has specially devised tracks which are wider than typical, which allow the load to be spread. Because we're operating on a slab which has got very strict limits to how much load we can impart on it because of the substructures which are below us, this has been the nominated kit. We've had also fitted to this an oil hitch which allows us to swap these various attachments which we need to change continually to allow us to shear sections of the structure down and then change the attachment to allow us to then process that material we've just generated to allow us to make good progress.